This here is called a Becket. It's an awful lot like a carabiner. It can be used in an awful lot of the same ways. It's a simple piece of rope with an eye on one end and a stopper knot on the other. It closes, it opens up. You can connect multiple Beckets together to get a larger piece, or you can just make a larger Becket. It's not the only design that they come in, as you can season eye and have any other stopper knot. Works the exact same way. You can have just 2 loops and work in a very similar way. You can use a Becket to hang something, say a bucket. You can hang your bucket. You can wrap a bedroll. If you wanted to, you can hang your lines. If you have eyes on the end of both your ropes and you have to connect them together, well, you can use a Becket for that as well. You can make a keychain. You can organize your small stuff. You can hang your COVID masks. Now this project is going to require a 4-strand braid. We'll start off with 4 strands and we'll separate them into 2 pairs. One on the right and a set on the left. When we have our 2 pairs separated, we'll take the top line, stick it under the middle 2, and then it will come back over 1. So you have a twist in your middle 2. Then you'll take the opposite side, and you'll do the same thing. You'll stick it under 2, and then back over 1. You're going to repeat this process by taking your top line, sticking it under 2, and then back over 1. For demonstration purposes, I'm making this particular braid a lot looser, but it helps you get the concept of it. You take your top line, under 2, over 1. Opposite side, under 2, over 1. For this project, we'll take 4 strands, approximately 3 to 3.5 feet in length. What I'm using here is just some jute 3-strand twine that I picked up at my local hardware store. You can use paracord or yarn or any other twine that you choose. I'm going with jute. When we have our 4 strands, we're going to middle them, and this will be our eye, so we'll want to make sure we start a little off-centered. I'm cheating here since I have a carabiner that's called a figure 9 carabiner, but you can make a quick noose and slip that into a carabiner if you need just anything to secure it to make braiding easier. We're going to start by making a 4-strand braid, just like we practiced a moment ago, with the 4 strands on our slightly more than half of the lines. And since I'm using 2 colors, with both of one color on one side and both of the other color on the other, you'll notice as the braid starts coming through that it makes 4 lines of color, where the green are on opposing sides of the braid and the khaki are on opposing sides of the braid. As we get close, we'll check to see if we're equal on both sides, which we aren't yet, so we'll keep braiding for just a little bit longer. We want to keep braiding until the middle of the braid is in the middle of our equal lengths of line. We'll braid just a little longer, and we'll check it again. Now, with everything matched up, the ends of our lines seem like they are equal, so we're going to start separating one line from each side of the braid, and we will pair those 2 lines together. I'm going to keep the greens together and the khakis together for simplicity. And we can start doing a 4-strand braid, but instead of each strand being one strand, each strand will be a pair of strands. And as you can see, I am no longer having green both be on one side with khaki being on the other. I now have 1 khaki and 1 green on each side, which is going to change our pattern for that. Alright, and then when we have our Becket as long as we want, we can go ahead and take it off the hook and start working on our stopper knot. My favorite stopper knot for this application is the foot rope knot, which, first a crown, then a wall, tuck up, and that is all. So we'll start with our crown knot by taking one line and tucking it over the next, taking the line we just looped over and looping it over the next line. Take that line you just looped over, loop it over the next, and When you are on your last line, you'll tuck it in that first loop you just made. That will be the basis of our first step of the foot rope knot, which is the crown knot. Once we have all 4 lines in, we can dress it up a little bit. And then when it's dressed, we can start working on our wall knot, which will be this pretty much the same thing as the crown knot, but instead of tucking our lines over and pointing them down, we'll loop them under and point them up. We'll do that for all 4 lines until we get to our first line, and just like with the last step, our last line will tuck into that first loop. And then we'll dress that up a bit before we start working on doubling it. And now that I've got my handy dandy fin fid here, we'll take a look at where each of our working lines comes out, and we'll see that it matches up with one of the passes we've already made from our crown knot. We'll match each pair, and we'll see how it comes over and under. We'll take our fin fid, and we'll just follow our passes through. And then we'll go ahead and do that with all 4 lines. Each one taking a look at where it comes out, which pass it matches with, making sure that we're following the same over-under pattern that the original foot rope knot had. And we'll just pass our lines through with it. When all 4 are tucked under, the last step is to tuck them all up through the center. So we'll take each doubled strand of line, we'll follow where the previous wrap of the foot rope knot had it come up, and instead of following it through, we'll tuck it up in the middle. I find it easier to tie my 2 strands together at this point, so when I'm tightening the knot, I always have my 2 strands together. And since it's a 4-strand braid that you're going through, as you look at where each working end is going to tuck under, try to make each working end tuck under one of the 4 strands in the braid. And the very last step is tightening the knot before cutting off the ends and tucking the loose ends in. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking out with me. I hope that you found this useful and hopefully slightly entertaining. And since I have made mine out of just hardware store garden jute twine, each strand has a weight limit of 8 pounds. Since I have 4 strands in the loop, that gives a working limit of maybe around 32 pounds. If you use sisal or cotton or paracord or any other material, it's going to give you a different working limit. This one here is designed basically to be a replacement of the little dollar carabiners. And you can make a different one of different material at a different size to give you the best working load that you're looking for. And I'd also like to point out that throughout this entire video I have been referring to these as beckets, since I got the concept from Clifford Ashley in the Ashley Book of Knots. In number 679, he notes, "Beckets are employed here and there about the ship for suspending and securing objects. A common becket has either a stopper or a button at one end and an eye at the other. It is sometimes called a strap and button. But in modern sailing communities, you'll often hear them referred to as soft shackles, but they'll usually be made out of Dyneema." But once again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you end up making one of these, let me know in the comments, what do you use it for? Thank you.